Life gets hard sometimes, so grab your weighted blanket and let's talk about it. All right, let's go. Say things.
Hi. Yes, I can say things. Welcome to Weighted Blanket Happy Hour. I'm Julia.
And I'm Jackie. I can never say that and sound like a natural human. I don't know why.
Well, we'll work on it, but it does kind of remind me of, those shows you watched on the local channel after school, and it was local kids doing dances and stuff, like The Adventure Zone or something. And I'm Karen. I'm Max. I'm Tim. And they do this weird kid hip hop routine followed by a don't do drugs segment or something. You'd be great for that.
I was about to say, I feel like I was on one of those. I was on Kids Say the Darndest Things when I was 5. Did I ever tell you about that?
No, you did not. What did you say?
The show with Bill Cosby. I'm sure the footage is on a VHS tape somewhere in my parents' house. But literally it was just me pulling focus for 20 minutes and embarrassing my parents because what else did you expect? And at one point, I poked...
Literally what the show is for.
Oh, and at one point, I poked Bill Cosby in the face on camera. I don't know why.
Good.
And
Good.
That's why my Twitter bio literally says Bill Cosby once told me to shut up because literally on the show I wouldn't stop talking. And he was like, Jackie, stop talking. And I wish I were kidding about that.
You heard it here first, folks.
Oh my God. Anyway,
wow.
How was your week?
All right. Well, this was a great episode. We're gonna just close it out there. I don't know how to top that. My week's been fine. My parents got their first doses of vaccination, which is very exciting, but I have definitely been feeling the second winter in a pandemic blues. I'm fine. I'm healthy. I'm working. I have an okay social life from what we can do, but I'm feeling a little drained.
I completely comprehend that. I feel like for November, December, I was so happy to still be employed and to not be alone for the holidays because roommate had to stay home as well. And also at the time I had just started ADHD medication and it got rid of my seasonal depression, and that made me extremely happy, and I was just so ecstatic. But now it's I don't know, lately I have been so unmotivated and have just not been working on any of the things that I want to work on. And I've just been feeling bogged down, coupled with the fact that I don't know if I'm going to be able to stay on my ADHD medication because it might be fucking with my liver. I have no idea.
What?
Yeah.
How'd you find that out?
Well, I don't exactly know, but basically ever since I've been taking it, because I'm on the non-stimulant medication, I'm on the one that they give people who are worried about addiction and stuff like that. And I was like, hey, this is making my heart rate really fast. That's probably bad, right? And they're like, it really shouldn't do that. And I'm like, it gets worse when I drink. Does that mean something? And they're like, we're going to test your liver enzymes. And I'm like, great, I'm going to not take it. Because
wow.
I'm so paranoid and anxious about my health. So I find this out the other day that it's that might mean it's fucking with your liver enzymes. And I'm like, okay, well that means I'm not going to take it. I'll take it when you test my liver enzymes, but no. So I've been a little off my rocker this weekend because I haven't taken it in 2 days. And I'm just maybe if I just maintain sobriety, then maybe I'll be fine.
This is a little, not to compare, and not that it's a competition, but my dermatologist put me on a light diuretic to help clear up my adult acne. I never had acne, bad acne, until I literally turned 29 and my skin was like, I give up. I just don't know what to do with all this excess oil on your skin. Fuck you, Julia. And I spent so much money at Sephora on fancy cleansers and masks and scrubs. And I finally saw a dermatologist and she was like, what are you doing to your skin? Just use Cetaphil, a few of these prescriptions, and we're going to put you on a diuretic. And I was like, Diuretic? Why do I have to go into diuretic? And she's like studies have shown blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, you're the doctor, not me. So sure. And I had to have like three people, the dermatologist, um, the pharmacy when I called in the order, and then the pharmacist that I picked it up with that asked me, are you planning on having children while you're on this? Because apparently with the diuretic, like, yeah, it can cause a lot of birth defects. And I'm like,
a diuretic can cause that? That's crazy.
that's what I'm saying. I was like just looking forward to losing like 5 pounds of water weight, but no. And I've been on an IUD since the 2016 election. So no, I'm not. And and it worked. Like the 6 months that I used it, like it was great. Like my skin was clear and I was peeing so much, but I was home because of the pandemic, so it didn't matter. But also I was kind of like, I don't like this could potentially fuck with my system. I don't like that. I'm gonna go off of it.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck is wrong with my body. I often joke with my roommate that, like, I am the least healthy person that I know, because no matter what long-term, like, med I try to take, I inevitably have to come off of it. I had an IUD for 3 years. It made me horrendously depressed. And then, like, the ADHD meds, like, that are not supposed to cause side effects, like, gave me this awful nausea and, like, are fucking with maybe my liver, maybe my heart, I don't know. And also, my skin has been awful lately because they dried out my skin, and I'm just like, what? Why can't I just have like the brain and bodily function of like a normal neurotypical human? But I guess I can't. It's so stupid.
I think it's such like a thing about like Western medicine is like, hey, you can cure this thing with this pill, but this pill is going to cause another symptom. So now you're going to have to take another pill to pay, or a prescription to pay for, and it's going to cause another symptom. And then it's like, all I had to do was cut out this like weird ingredient that was in a lot of like my shampoo and conditioners that I was using. As soon as I switched to like simple ingredients, my skin cleared up without needing a diuretic or fancy prescriptions. And it's like, why can't we base on, hey, yeah, it's nice to have these pills that cause these things to go away, but end up causing more. Why don't we just figure out what's actually causing it and just stop doing that?
Yep. That's honestly like what the conclusion I'm coming to currently with like the getting on and getting off the ADHD medication, because it was really helpful at first, and then it became not helpful. And then in the days that I haven't taken it, I've noticed I'm like, well, yeah, but also if I just don't drink or do edibles, then like I kind of feel the same as like when I'm on the ADHD meds.
What kind of life is that? And what kind of life is that?
So I don't know. The conclusion here is I don't know, but I'll report back with more and less that I know.
Yeah. You are a medical enigma. That is sure. But I'm sure there are other people out there listening who are like, oh, it's not just me. I did go ahead. Yeah.
Apparently I'm a romantic enigma as well, because okay, so I took that attachment type test that we were talking about last week.
That's right. I literally, previously on last week's episode.
Of Weighted Blanket Happy Hour. No, because you were talking about it and you were like, yeah, there's like the avoidant type and there's the, the whatever the clingy one is, and
anxious. Thank you very much. Yes.
And I was like, I don't know which one I am. I took the test on psychologytoday.com, and I came out as like the avoidant type, but like the avoidant type's like apparently very, very contradictory. And I was just reading up on it like a little bit. I didn't delve too much into it, but it was really funny because I was reading it and I'm like, this makes sense, because I feel like when it comes to romantic relationships, my attitude is always, I want to be in love. And then someone's just like, hello? And I'm like, no, not you.
So that's amazing. Wait, hold on. Let me see.
She has a book, everybody.
I do have a book. I'm trying to like look up what. You might have to cut this because this might be taking too long for me to look up.
It's okay. Do the pages into the mic like it's ASMR. actually sounds nice. You're joking, but that
Oh,
sounds nice.
good. Oh, good. Yeah. Um, yeah, I'll just have to throw this book at you one day. It's so good. But yeah, that is and again, like we talked about this last week, but like doesn't help that we live in a culture that feeds us what like this idea of what romance and relationships are supposed to be like, and where if you find someone who like is genuinely interested in you and like says they want to have sex with you, and then you're like, oh wait, never mind. Um, yeah,
Oh my god, that's
sucks.
basically it though. But yeah, so I am apparently an avoidant type, which is completely fair because I'm very bad at romance. I would even go so far as to say that I am not a romantic person. But yeah, it was interesting to me because I somehow automatically knew that I wasn't the good one.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
Well,
Which
cause,
one's the good one?
well, because it's like there's the anxious, there's the avoidant, and there's the like the what is the other one? The
Secure.
secure. Like isn't that the like you can have normal romantic relationships and not be an insane person about it. Like
Yeah, I don't think anyone would actually ever say that, maybe off the record, but yeah, essentially that's true.
yep.
Like, you don't have any issues with forming connections and showing vulnerability. You follow up with your partners regularly. Congratulations. And it's just
Congratulations.
like as an anxious person reading that, I'm like, oh, people do that?
No,
People
it's
don't play games? I don't
it
understand.
It's so true though because like I was answering some of these questions and some of them were just like, "Oh, I care intensely about my partner's opinion." And I was like, "No." But then some of them were like, "When my partner wants me to open up to them emotionally, I get scared." And I'm like, "Abso-fucking-lutely." And like as I was doing the test, I was like, "I think I know which one I am at this point." But it was helpful because when it was one of those things where like when someone points out traits to you that you exhibit, but they pointed them out in like a clinical way, and you're like, oh, I do that. Okay, I will notice that next time. So we'll see. Not that anything's getting solved right now because pandemic.
Why are you so avoidant?
Why are you so avoidant? It's an independence
Why are you
thing.
so avoidant?
I can talk to my therapist about it, I'm sure.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, there's so much we can talk in the realm of dating that we can go into another day. But yeah, no, bring it up with her. See what she says.
Yeah. So,
We were going to talk about panic attacks
yes.
today. Baby's first panic attack, and I thought it would be helpful to clear the air with what is a panic attack, because panic attacks can frequently be confused with anxiety attacks. And I found a really cute, quick little square, little blurb from what.is.mental illness. So you can follow them at what.is.mental.illness. Hit them up on Instagram. But they have a really nice little chart, and it has like panic attack in one column and anxiety attack in the other column. And I'll just highlight it off. And panic attack says usually happens without any warning, whereas anxiety attack has triggers. Panic attack, sudden and extreme, whereas anxiety gradually builds up. Panic attack symptoms are more intense and cause major disruptions in your day. Anxiety symptoms can be persistent and long lasting. And then for the physical symptoms for panic attacks are excessive sweating, trembling, difficulty breathing, hot flashes, chest pain, and more. It has an exclamation mark. And then anxiety attack is fatigue, muscle tension, disturbed sleep, increased heart rate, dizziness, and more. And yeah, a lot.
Sounds real fun.
I'm literally like experiencing my own like PTSD with my own different anxiety and panic attacks.
Oh no. Yeah,
Yeah.
I did not realize that all of that was the differentiation. Cuz yeah, now I'm like going back through like any major anxiety events that I've had. And it's like I know we hopped on here today to talk about them, but now I'm thinking about them. I'm like, "Oh god, this is embarrassing. Am I really going to record this and put this on the
There you are. That's why we're here. That's why we're here, to be vulnerable.
something about relatability when people are so glad that they're not you.
I think that's called Schadenfreude.
Yes, no, something similar to that. Yeah, I like. Okay, so I mean, I can go first. So I think the first panic attack. I'm trying to that I've ever had. I'm trying to remember. I'm sure that I had lots and lots of anxiety attacks in high school, or at least just like anxiety episodes. With test grades that maybe didn't turn out as well as I'd hoped. Stuff like that. But the first time I ever had like an honest to God, like, I don't know what's happening, why do I feel like this panic attack? It technically had a trigger, but like it was what you said, it came on very, very quickly. And it was just about getting on a plane. Like I somewhere in my late teens to early 20s developed this very specific phobia of flying that I had not had before and then eventually grew out of and have not really had since. But yeah, it's like I never liked flying in high school, and it just sort of got progressively worse. And then there was this time where it was really specific. I was supposed to go do this like study abroad like 2-week thing, and I just like we were literally like, I was packed and we were about to go to the airport, and suddenly I was like, no, I can't do this. And my parents were like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, no, I'm done. I don't want to go. And they were like, what? No, we're going to go to the airport. I'm like, no, absolutely not. Suddenly, I don't know why, but there was just this idea in my head that like, I was like, I can't get on the plane. It wasn't even necessarily like, if I get on this plane, the plane is going to crash and I will die. It was just suddenly, I was like, no, I don't want to go. No. And I don't know what caused it. It didn't make sense in the moment. It didn't have any reason behind it, but it was just this very full-on physical reaction. And of course my poor mom and dad were like, what the shit is wrong with you? And I was like, I don't know, but you can't fucking make me do the thing. You can't make me. And I ended up just not going. We got our money back and like it was fine. But like I just ended up not going, to the thing that I was supposed to go to. And to this day, I don't really know. It didn't have to do necessarily with fear of the plane crashing. It didn't have to do with fear of traveling alone, because I had traveled alone before. I don't know what happened or why, but there was a sudden swell of like, nope, I'm not going. You can't make me. And I didn't, because turns out they couldn't make me. It was so weird. And it was multiple hours of them just being like, why, what is wrong with you? You wanted to go do this thing. And I'm like, yeah, but now I don't. And like, that's the thing about it. I don't know if you also experience this, and you can talk about this, but in the past when I have had like sudden snaps into extreme anxiety, it's this very like, I passed the threshold of I am no longer anxious. I am now just like scary calm. I am and on the inside physically, it's like my heart's fluttering and I can't breathe. But like externally, what's happening is I'm just like, no, you can't make me do the thing. No. And I just keep adamantly saying no. Do you experience that?
I don't experience the like, no, I'm not going to do this, but I feel like that a lot around like moving. Like moving is like one of the most stressful, anxiety inducing events to experience as an adult. And lucky me, I got to move twice in 2020 in the middle of the pandemic. Let us not forget.
I felt so bad for you. I felt so bad for you. I was like, Julia, no.
Worked out. It worked out.
Yes.
And no, it was not me just being like, I don't feel that great about this place. I'm gonna get enough. Like I had to move. I'm not a masochist, but yeah, having to do it again after already experiencing the stress and anxiety, I almost felt like I already had all the notes. Like I already took the test. Like I just have to take the test again. It's not an easy test to take, but I already know all the answers. I know I'll pass it again. But yeah, definitely the day of, it was just a very like, this has to happen next, and now this has to happen next, and then I got to do this. And I always just end up feeling exhausted afterwards. Yeah, I know that At one point, my anxiety gave me GERD. Let me just look up what that stands for again, because
Gastrointestinal
long.
reflux disease.
Why do you know that?
Because I used to have it, and then I lost weight and changed my diet, and it hasn't come back.
Yeah, no, I lost like 10 pounds in like 2 weeks because of it. So yeah, it's basically like your stomach like is very acidic, and like if you eat basically anything, you want to throw up. And I got it. I had it for a couple of weeks, and my manager after 2 weeks was like, "Julia, have you lost weight? You look great." I'm like, "Thanks. I can't eat anything.
Oh no.
I want to throw up every time I eat. Thanks, Kelly."
That's so. Thanks, Kelly. I love that.
But it was an anxiety. It was an anxiety attack because it happened gradually over the time. Basically, me and my roommates, we had a bit of a fallout. Not my fault. But it basically became clear that it was no longer in an environment that I could live in and be comfortable in and be myself in. And I had to start looking into finding a studio apartment. So living on my own for the first time with a waitress, but with a waitress income. And then, break the news to my roommates that I wasn't going to sign the lease with them again. And do it from a place of it's not personal. I just think what's best for us, our relationship, our friendship is if I move out. And I was so stressed out about finding a place, living on my own, potentially ruining my relationship with my roommates who were my friends that I gave myself GERD. So yeah, it's a thing.
That's hella stressful though, like having to tell people bad news. No one ever tells you growing up how stressful it is to have the conversation of like, I'm making this decision for me and I know it impacts you, but it doesn't have to do with you. I vividly remember when we moved out of our previous place and we had a third roommate and we had sort of decided like, okay, like we need to move out of this building. We've been wanting to live together, just the two of us for a while. Like, let's, we're going to give this third roommate plenty of time to like, find a different place. So we're going to have this conversation. It's going to be fine. And then like when the moment came to like sit down and like talk about, are we re-signing the lease? And we knew we had to say no. Like, I remember we just like looked at each other and we were like, oh my God, what the fuck? What do we say? And like immediately both like the anxiety in the room just like palpably spiked. And we were like,
Yeah, it isn't. I honestly, like, I thought that anxiety attack and panic attack were like interchangeable. And now, like, having done research for this episode, I'm like, oh, yeah, no, there is a difference. I understand the difference, but I don't like calling it an anxiety attack because it sounds like it is like instant. It's more of like an anxiety climb or buildup because it gets more and more and more and more intense until you hit the peak. And then the peak could be a panic attack, which I have experienced. But I feel like I want to rebrand what anxiety attack is because it is gradual over time.
I tend to call them episodes. So like there have been... As we sort of mentioned earlier in this episode, my body is stupid and I can't handle being on birth control because while I was on birth control, my anxiety was atrocious and my depression got way worse. And I had very, very, just nonsensical anxiety episodes about like completely I was worried and scared about things that like were not going to happen, and it was like, but it was things that like had a trigger that like the triggers were things that I was already scared of, and they would last days, and it would be these completely irrational fears of like, there's gonna be a chemical attack during the 4th of July. My phobia of terrorism. My phobia of terrorism like reared its ugly head while, during the years that I was on birth control. And eventually I got the IUD out, and then just kind of haven't been on anything since. And actually my doctor the other weekend was like, so what birth control are you on? I'm like, well, right now, the pandemic. But that's interesting, that differentiation, because now that I'm sort of looking back on like major events where I had really bad anxiety, I'm like, oh, I can see how like that had a trigger and like that slowly built and got very bad. Whereas like there have also been times where I'm like, I'm terrified and I'm terrified and anxious and I have no idea why, and it came on so suddenly. So it's like, there really is kind of a difference. I literally today I learned that.
I was today years old when I found out. I mean, and this is why, like, you know, we need to normalize it and talk about it, because like my first panic attack, I'm starting to think that I had it, like, I could have had my first one as young as like 5th grade. My family was, when, you know, my dad was changing careers, and there was a lot of pressure. On my family to, you know, make ends meet while we were figuring this out. And I feel like a lot of what I thought were like cry spells actually panic attacks. But like the first, like, so those were like my I have a couple like pre-panic attacks, if that makes any sense, because like I'm not sure if they were panic attacks looking back on them more than 10 years from now, from today. But definitely my first one where I was like, this is not just a cry spell, like something is physically happening to my body that I have no control over, was my my senior year in college. I was in an acting program, and I was not cast in any of the main stage shows, so I went off to produce a student production with a couple of friends of mine, which was great experience. I think it's very important for artists to learn how to produce or self-produce, because so much work that can be done doesn't need to be done with, you know, an official theater or, you know, like a big main stage budget. You just got to be good at sending emails. And so I did the student production. I was really proud of it, but I realized that like no one from the theater department, this like 500-person department, including students, came to see it. Yeah.
Well, that's shitty. First of all.
Thank you.
No, also, don't they get like attendance credit or some shit? Why on earth? Like, ugh.
I guess like people use the excuse of like, oh, I was in tech for my show, or my show just opened, or it was such a busy weekend, I couldn't come. And, you know, all those excuses are valid and exist. But, you know, considering how big our theater department was, and like I had one professor come, a theater history professor. To be fair, I have continued that relationship with him, and he has gotten me work outside of school. So the one person that showed up, it did count. Thank you, Peter Davis.
There you
go.
But
and so we're about to have this really scary class with one of our professors. He's just one of those like really scary, like looks deep into your soul and tells you what you're doing wrong with your life kind of professors. And there's a lot of stress and pressure because it's our senior year. We have to start rehearsing for what you call a showcase, which is like your debutante ball for senior actors, where you present scenes and monologues to casting directors and agents, and everyone thinks it's going to like make your entire career. So there's a lot of pressure around it, right?
Yeah, I was literally, I'm like, yeah, everybody, because I was in one of those too, and everybody fucking thinks like this is it, and like, oh my gosh, it's not it, dude. Nothing happens.
Nowhere near. Let me tell you right now, 10 years out working as a casting director, I appreciate the appetizers and drinks and like talking with wide-eyed people. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I need someone who's 50 years old from my show. I'm so sorry, you can't do it.
You might get a coffee out of it. You might get a coffee date out of it. Oh my God.
We can do a whole episode about how like people need to change the showcase, but that's not this show. Anyway. I'm feeling so it's like literally like the 10 minutes between classes. I'm feeling the sadness, the hurt of realizing that no one in my theater department came to see my student production run show of Stop Kiss. Had to be Stop Kiss. Had to be Stop Kiss. And I have this anxiety about going into a class with this scary professor that I don't think likes me, who's going to like determine my future as an actor. And I was like, I'm going to call my dad. Maybe my dad will help calm me down. And I call my dad and I start experiencing the chest palpitations and the heavy breathing. And again, I thought I was up for a good cry. I'm just on the phone with my dad in like this sad little like garage elevator lobby, like, I don't know what's happening to me. And my dad was not the best person to call in this moment, because my dad is very much the like tough love, just like, calm down. You're being over dramatic. It's not that big of a deal. Calm down. Who cares what they think? I'm like, I care so much about what people think. I'm in the arts.
That's so accurate.
Not helpful.
Oh my god.
Needless to so what's crazy about that is that I go to class like having this huge like emotional episode, and I did my best work according to this professor. He's like, I've never seen you more raw or open or honest before. Keep this. And from that day, everyone was like, oh, Julia's had a breakthrough. Wow, our program must really be working from her. It's like, if by program you mean giving me an anxiety attack, yeah, sure, it worked.
Oh my god. So, side note, like, I don't know if dads in general are the worst person to call, but I think for us, you and me specifically, our dads are the worst people to call, because in 2017, I think we talked about this in a previous episode maybe, or maybe you and I just talked about it. In 2017, I had just gotten off a flight from Barcelona, and the nuclear standoff with North Korea was happening, and I was sleep deprived. I had just had this like long eat, pray, love journey that I was completely alone for. It was a hard year. I was on that birth control that made my emotions crazy. And like, I was convinced we were gonna get like nuked. And I was on the phone with my dad, and I was just like, do I need to like go into the city and like get my cat and like go somewhere? And he like seriously asking this question. And he was like, he had no clue what was happening. He was like, what are you talking about? Like, what? No, go drink some water. What the fuck is wrong with you? Like, he was he did not get it, and he just made it worse. Poor thing.
Yeah. And like, maybe a part of me did want to like talk to my dad and like, get someone to like shake me out of my whatever funk I was in and just be like, stop caring about what other people. But it was like an iceberg, there was just so much more going on under the surface for me that I wasn't aware of or I wasn't acknowledging. And so once it was triggered by like this fear of facing this scary professor, who ended up not being that, I will say right now, like we ended up like becoming very good friends, and we still stay in touch to this day. He's not that scary. But in that moment, like it just hit my body like a brick wall. And then I've started tracking them on my phone to help for when I do get them again. So so what have been like your cues for when you are going through a panic attack?
Well, admittedly, a big part of it for me is just because, to sort of like thread the theme of like my body is a mess and I need to take care of it in order to function even semi-normally. I've learned that a big part of it for me is just like keeping myself at optimal health, because when I'm taking care of myself and not putting my body through unnecessary stress by normal ass fucking things like birth control, I'm still so mad that I can't be on birth control. Then I'm not nearly as prone to them. Additionally, because, and I think you can probably speak to this as well, because we've had these sorts of episodes, attacks, whatever you want to call them, multiple times before, it's like you can sort of start to get a feel for like when they're starting. So now it's like, I'll still hyper focus on like I learned what a coronal mass ejection event was and how like technically
What is that?
So the sun sends out flares, and if it sends out a huge one, it's called a coronal mass ejection event. And if one were to hit Earth without warning, it would knock out all the power grids in the world, and society would cease to exist as we knew it. And
that happened? Has that happened? Wait a second.
It technically one happened in the 1800s. But obviously, if it were to happen today, and there were no electricity, we would all fucking die in anarchy. And so I found out about that one day, and I was like, I have to do research on this. And and like the whole time I'm like, what can I look up to stop myself from worrying about this? And eventually like found articles that were like, yeah, we know about this. Therefore, there's a satellite halfway between here and the sun that will warn us if shit like that's about to go down, and we can shut down.
That's good. So nice. That's nice to know.
Yeah. So it's like, I mean, finding pertinent information about the thing that I'm worried about that will make me less worried is helpful. Of course, it has to be from reliable sources. Otherwise, it means nothing. But then also like recognizing when you're starting to climb the hill and being like, hi, do you see the trajectory that you're on? Maybe we should pivot. Maybe we should do literally any fucking other thing. And it doesn't always work. Hence, me getting caught up in an afternoon reading engineering articles about the power grid. But
exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know why I'm like this.
That's why we're here. Yeah, no one knows. No one knows. But the great thing is that we're not alone in that. And I now that I know like my cues, like the heart palpitations, the shortness of breath, I can the last few times that I've had or have been starting to have one, I catch myself, or at least I'm able to communicate to whoever I'm around, like, hi, I'm about to experience an anxiety attack. I hope we can still be friends after this. Here we go. And
I love the idea of you looking someone in the eyes and saying exactly that sentence.
I had to say it to my ex-boyfriend after we got in a really big fight. Aww. He did not do well. That's why it's one of the reasons why we're not together anymore.
Fair enough.
And but anyway, I find focusing on my breath is really helpful, like forcing myself to take slow breaths in and out. And when I am when my schedule is really crazy, when I've got a lot to accomplish in a short amount of time, writing it down on a Post-it note or in my planner, putting a task on my phone so that it's just one less thing that's on my brain. Like you said, just calming down all of the external factors outside of me. It helps to release the pressure of it building inside of me. So it's okay, I can take care. And then it just becomes a, what's it called? In healthcare, the triage. It becomes a triage of okay, what do I absolutely need to do first? What needs to come, and don't even think about what needs to happen in level 2, level 3. Only think about what needs to happen now in level 1, and we'll get to the rest later. It's written down somewhere. I promise I won't forget about it. And just slowing, the process of slowing everything down to help.
Do you so that leads me to a question. Do you when friends are supportive and are there for you to talk to you during anxiety attacks, or do you like to be left alone? Because I like to be left the fuck alone.
I love just having someone just rubbing my back, getting me water, and just being breathe. It's going to be okay, Julia. Just breathe. It's going to be okay. Because a lot of times my anxiety attacks come with a crying spell, and it feels, but to each their, I am what do I call myself? I am an introverted extrovert. Even though I recharge being alone, I feel better when I'm talking to someone, venting to someone, having that kind of support. I think the worst thing you could do to a person experiencing an anxiety, panic, or cry spell is say, get over it. It's all in your head. Calm down.
Yeah, that sentence does nothing. First of all, that is a very emotionally healthy reaction.
And it's still a work in progress. I don't think I've had an anxiety I haven't had a panic attack since I think 2019. Surprisingly, after the shit show that was 2020. Yeah, I mean, I definitely had anxiety attacks in 2020, but panic attacks, anything that was sudden. I think the last one I had was in 2019 after I got my cats and my schedule was out of whack. My ex was being a jerk. So all of these things, but at least now I have kind of an action blueprint, if you would. We call that an action blueprint.
You got
Is that
you
a thing?
You got that from Biden in his acceptance speech, and like I hadn't, yeah, because I had never heard anybody say. He says he's talking about COVID, and he's just like, we're gonna turn our plan into an action blueprint. I'm like, what millennial gave you that buzzword?
Well, whoever gave it, he's got my vote, so it worked.
Hey, listen, the alternative was bad.
Bad. It was really bad. So bad.
Oh Which oh my god, talking about I certainly haven't had an anxiety attack since the inauguration. Before then, maybe a little bit.
Oh no.
Maybe a little bit constantly, like for like a week, that maybe was incited by certain people.
Oh, it was an ongoing anxiety hill from like. And we were doing so good after the election. Like, we were doing great. It was like I was feeling confident going into the new year. Like, what are they going to do when they're counting the ballot, like the electoral college? Like, not count it, like, whatever. And then January 6th happened, and we have that episode out. And, like, it was like, oh, I have something to be anxious about. Great. Here's your GERD. Here's your insomnia. Here's your... can't plan for the week because like what's the point? Here's your depression.
It was so stupid. It was like it was one of those, well, because it's like, as I've mentioned, when I'm really anxious about something, I can't look away from it like a slow moving train wreck. Like I have to know every detail, every update, every second. So like I think on January 6th, I was just sitting there on my laptop hitting refresh on Twitter, like making sure that AOC hadn't been murdered.
Right?
Oh my god.
Right?
Luckily, no one was murdered, and the ensuing memes have been dank as shit, but...
like, our very own, like, Illinois' very own Tammy Duckworth. Like, she's a veteran. Like, she's in a wheelchair. Like, what the hell? Like, I'm, like, hearing about, like, her story, experiencing that, and I'm like, Tammy, I vote for you every time. You have to make it.
I completely
You have to
agree.
give them hell.
Oh my gosh. Yes,
anyway,
but...
yeah. Well, listen, if you ever have a panic attack, you can call me. Or don't call me because you want to be alone. But either way, got you.
If you've ever had a panic attack, yeah, us too.
Yeah, right? Yeah, just slide in the DMs. Just let us know. We're here for you. It's a community. Don't call your dad.
Unless your dad is cool, in which case you can call him.
Otherwise, don't call your dad.
Otherwise, don't call your dad. If your dads are our dads, don't call your dad.
Don't call your dad. Call your dad after you have it. Just be like, oh, this thing I did. And your dad's like, what are you on?
Oh
you know, if you like that kind of, yeah, if you like that kind of deprecating dadland. But yeah, it's good to have people who are in your circle who are like supportive and like aren't the kind of people to be like, let's find solutions, versus the people who are like, do you just need someone to hold your hand? Do you just need someone? Like, whatever you need, I'm here. Like, they're golden people to have in your corner when shit like that goes down. Amen. And I was very lucky. I was mostly lucky to have those people be around me when I experienced mine.
Mm-hmm. What was your self-care this week?
That's a great question. It's so hard because like I've just been like in my like little depression haze for the last week. So you know, I use the Passion Planner. I've been using the Passion Planner since 2016, and I found these new markers, the zebra markers, to use for it, and it's like I'm like coloring. It's like a coloring book now. It's so much fun. And then I discovered stickers. There's this brand on Amazon called Happy Planners stickers. Ooh. And I have like 3,000 stickers. And you saw me on our call last week. Like, I was not sober, and I'm just like listening to everybody toss like putting stickers on a planner, and I was so happy. Was so happy. Literally, like, I went to bed, like, usually when I go to bed, like, I'll read a magazine or a book, and one night I was like, I just want a sticker. And I did that for like 10 minutes because there's so many stickers.
I love
there's
it.
So many things in your year. Here's your Happy Mother's Day sticker. Here's your payday sticker. Here's your date night sticker. Here's a little star for whatever you want.
That's so precious.
Right. And so I had, I had like a reward on my credit card spending money, and I was like, $20. I'm going to get more stickers. That was my
Yay.
self-care.
I love it. Mine was my
How about you?
self-care. My self-care just happened today. Cause my self-care this week was playing video games and ignoring the world. But
Fair.
yeah, but then today I was just like, so I do my voice lessons like via Skype, just with like this microphone and like, my voice teacher who lives in Vienna. We were doing socially distanced voice lessons before it was cool.
It's a very casual flex, by the way. My voice teacher who's in Vienna. Okay.
Well, when I met her, she lived
Okay.
in San Diego, and then she moved to Vienna a few years ago. She actually got her residence visa finally, like 2 months
What
ago.
is that? By curiosity, what is that time difference?
8 hours, 9 hours. No, it is. Yes, it is 8 hours because it's her 8 p.m. my noon on Sundays, which she doesn't mind. So like it works out. She's a night owl. But I was just telling her today. I'm like, Martha. I'm so unmotivated. I can't I haven't been doing anything. Like I've just been like being a lug. I'm not working out. Like I'm just ugh. Like I'm not sad, but I'm ugh. And she was just like, this isn't ending anytime soon. You want to like learn some new music? And I'm like, yeah, I do, but like there's nothing to learn it for. And she's like, no, I mean, do you like want to put together a recital? And I was like, no one's gonna watch it, but yes, I do. Because it's like,
I would watch it. I would 100% watch it. You have friends that would watch it. Come on now.
well, because it's like, I don't know if anybody would want to tune in for like a full 45 minutes, first half me singing Italian arias, second half me singing Sondheim. So like, I don't know if anyone would want to tune into a virtual event. Yeah. So, and we haven't fully worked out the details, but basically she just sort of put this out there on a platter for me, and I'm like, I don't care if I'm doing it for literally you. It's like I have a project to work on, and I have a reason to learn new music because I have not had that reason in a year. So I'm extremely excited to start working on some music for a conceivable purpose. That's my self-care.
I really like that because I've been really hard on myself for like hardly picking up my guitar during this pandemic because it's like, well, I'm not a play for anyone. I'm not going to go to a coffee house or an open mic. So like, what's the point? Even though I know this thing like gives me joy to do, but the less I do it, worse I become and the less I want to do it. So it's like, like if you have like a goal in mind, like a recital or a YouTube live stream or just like every Monday, I'm going to post live on Instagram and it's just going to be me jamming out and the 10 people who show up, thank you. Like whatever it takes to like get your butt off the couch from watching 7 episodes straight of Bling Empire, which I did this week.
Oh.
A good thing.
Yeah, and we're at that point in quarantine where I'm just kind of like, it's been a year since I've been on stage. I need something. So, but
I feel that.
We're working on it. We're figuring out, and we have this show.
We do. No, and that was the other thing too when I started like conceptualizing this and bringing you on board and planning it. It was like, oh, right. Projects, performing, these like creativity, these things that give me life. I forgot about this. Even like, when I was focusing more on casting and administrative work. And I was like, well, this is good. And I know that like I'm making a difference in this world, but like technically this isn't for me. This is for other people. This is for the theater company I work for. And this is so great because it is for other people, but it is also for me. It is for you. It's for us. It's for all of us. So it's nice when you can find something that, that does give back to you.
Thanks everybody for hanging out this week.
Stay safe.
And same time next week. Was that your cat?
Yeah, it was. Keep it. Damn it, Grady.
That was
so
amazing.
close.
No, it was amazing.